The following dysfunctional gaming program was filmed in front of a live Twitch audience.
Hey, what's happening? I am Thundercat.
And I am GM Patch Nasty, and this week on Talking D&D, episode 24, we talk about spells. But before we get into that, we need to talk about what we talked about last week. Thundercat, take us away. We talked about planes, trains, and automobiles? Something like that?
Yeah, we talked about planes, astral trains, and abyssal automobiles. But we're going to get to the abyssal automobiles next week, actually. But we talked about the astral plane, the Feywild, and a couple others. If you want to catch up on that, we have that available on Anchor FM and Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
All the places where you can listen to the things for your ear potatoes. But This week we are talking about spells. We are talking about what is a spell. We talked about classes at great length and talked about how a vast majority of them can cast a spell. I'm pretty sure every class can cast a spell at some point or some way or another. But also, if you don't ever want to cast spells, you might be given a magical item which might have a spell in it, and you will need to know how to cast a spell at that point. So here we are, Thundercat and myself, to talk you through that. Thundercat, you want to tell us what's a spell?
Sure, I guess I can do that. So, basically, in Dungeons and Dragons, there is magic, and this astral weave that flows through the cosmos. And your character is gifted with the ability to cast these things from this magic. So your spell is actually a magical effect that is created by you, whether or not you mean to or don't. It is still discrete, a single shaping of the magical energies that suffuse the multiverse into a specific limited expression. In casting a spell, a character carefully plucks at the invisible strands of raw magic suffusing the world, pins them in a place in a particular pattern, and sets them vibrating in a specific way, and then releases them to unleash the desired effect. In most cases, all in the span of seconds. There you go. That is a spell.
That's a spell. That's a spell. I was just going to say magic, so I'm glad you expanded upon that. Spells all have levels, as we covered in every single one of our classes. They start off at 0, which are your cantrips. That's baby magic. And then they go all the way up to your big bad alpha daddy stats. What up, Unhinged Canuck? Thank you very much for swinging in. They go all up to level 9. Level 9 spells are typically the big bad ones like Wish, Power Word Kill, Power Word Heal is one of them that's been added on. They've added so many different spells. So, for example, level 1 spell, Magic Missile. Level 9, Wish. Putting him on 2. I do 2. I miss playing D&D with this bearded nut that way. Yeah, I remembered how to go. And my lovely, lovely fiance who's cooking dinner
That
right
way.
now.
That guy.
That way, over there.
She's over there.
Yeah, she's way over there. There's 2 different types of spells. You've got known and prepared. Known spells, as we covered with clerics, are certainly going to... Sorry, noise just started happening in my ears. Known. These are always on your list. You will always know them. They will not count against your prepared spells. Prepared spells, like the wizard, you will have to take X and this modifier to get your prepared spells list. It goes into it. Members of a few classes, including bards and sorcerers, have a limited list of spells they know and are always fixed in mind. The same thing is also true for magic using monsters. They will have a same spell list that they know. If you look at illithids as we encountered last night, or some other things. They have a certain select, unless you're a great DM and you want to be able to prepare your spells on the fly. Other spellcasters, such as clerics and wizards, undergo a process of preparing spells. This process varies for different classes, as detailed in their descriptions. We covered those. In every case, the number of spells a caster can have fixed in their mind at any given time depends on the character's level. It will ultimately decide what level you are will be that starting block for how many you can have fixed in your mind, no matter what.
Right.
Yep. And then you go into the different. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So let's get into that. Let's talk about cantrip.
We're not gonna go right into slots, or we're just start off in the baby spells.
I think slots is kind of a. They're all over the place depending on the class you're playing, so we can't really. Yeah, you get different amounts depending on your class. So, some classes will get more slots than others. You get the slots depending on your class, and you get. I think as a cleric, you get them half your level plus your modifier, your casting modifier for
something like that.
So you gotta just kind of check your class and your subclass to see how many spells you can prepare and how many you can slot.
I was also talking about using like a first level and then you like taking a first level spell like Magic Missile and then using it at like 7th level, like that type of spell.
Well, then tell me about that.
So you can typically most spells you can cast at a higher level and have different effects or different alterations to it, like durations and such. Like if you cast Magic Missile at 2nd level as opposed to the base of 1st level, you'll get an extra D4 +1 worth of damage with it. There are some spells that don't allow that. Most of those spells are rituals, as we'll cover a little bit later on. And normally, if you finish a long rest, you'll get all of your spell slots back. Some classes will have alterations to that. Some classes will also have alterations to your spell slots where you'll have a special ability that you can use once per long rest that you won't have to use a spell slot, such as some of the warlocks. Evocations is the one. There's some monk way of the 4 elements ones that you won't have to use spell slots. You'll just use key points, or that's just a benefit that you get. But yeah, it all depends on what spell slots you have. It shows how many you get throughout your progression at your level.
You ready?
Oh yeah, now we can talk about cantrips.
Yay! I love cantrips. I think they're probably the best part about being a spellcaster. There's a lot of fun ones that you can use throughout the whole game that can be helpful in multiple different situations.
Prestidigitation, Mage Hand,
Thaumaturgy, Light. And then a lot of people go for the damage dealing ones, but if you have the option of having like 3 or 4, I think 1 damage dealing one is fine, and then having 3 buff ones, or like ones that like can improve your night somehow. Like Prestidigitation, you fell in the mud or you got kicked into the gutter, you could be like, oh no, I'm clean now. Or you want to make a little money, I'm gonna sit on the side, put my hat down and be like, check out my little fireworks. Check out it, I'm a magician. And someone drops a goblet of gold in, you're like, sweet, I have a place to stay tonight.
My favorite thing to do with Prestidigitation is, my coffee is tepid. It's hot now. This beer is awfully cold. This beer tastes like water. As I've played a lot of casters, I've felt the balance is always 2 to 1 to start. Like you have like 2 utilitary and 1 damage dealing, and then when you get another one, get that another damage dealing one. Because at that point, your DM might start throwing things that have resistance. Like if you have Firebolt, once you hit level 5, start looking for things that are going to have fire resistance or resistances to certain things, and then kind of flip off in that and start taking notes, like what you don't have for damage dealers. Like if you don't have something that does necrotic, pick something up. So you have that versatility.
Right.
Alternatively, always with your non-dealing ones, like have something that can do something for the party and something for you. I'm playing a human cleric. I can't see in the dark. Light. That is my first cantrip. Now I never need torches. That is an expense I will never have to worry my DM with. Then thaumaturgy helps because then you can start being more an intimidating presence with the booming voice, the ground tremors, having the doors open or close or windows like shake and shit. That's always I've always thought of it. If you're a bard,
shall
take
not pass. Everything
that
shakes.
Gandalf certainly was a multi-classer because that was thaumaturgy. There is no doubt in my mind that was not.
I think you can get I think you can get thaumaturgy as a wizard.
No, I've looked. You can get it through a feat as a
or a different type of wizard. Don't you get to like pick?
Oh, you
spells?
can get. There is an Unearthed Arcana one that is the Clericky Wizard, which I've always wanted to play because he seems like, if you've ever seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the episode where Charlie thinks he's a priest because he's got the good Lord going down on him. I saw that and I was like, that sounds funny. I want to do that because then I'm a wizard who can fireball and, oh, here you go, buddy. And I tap you on the head and cast Cure Wounds at first level.
Ouch, ouch, I'm hurt. Here's 4 hit points.
There you go.
I hope you enjoy.
But it's kind of neat, like how like the Clericky Wizard uses their intelligence modifier. I was like, that's kind of nifty because clerics aren't usually intelligent.
Tell me about rituals.
Rituals. Okay, rituals are super easy. So certain spells will have a tag that has ritual. It will also have a little R if you have the cards. These are certain spells that you can cast without using a spell slot. One that comes to mind immediately is Identify. There are certain things that you need to pay attention to when it comes to the components of your spell. Such a spell can be cast with the following normal rules for spell casting, or the spell can be cast as ritual. The ritual version of a spell takes 10 minutes longer to cast than normal. So if you have a ritual that's an hour long, it takes an hour and 10 minutes. If you have a ritual that takes an action, it takes 10 minutes and 6 seconds. If you have something that takes a day to cast normally, it takes a day and 6 seconds.
No, 10 minutes.
Or a day and 10 minutes. I'm sorry. But that is how ritual casting works. The thing is to remember, with ritual casting, look at your material components. Unless the component is consumed, it will say it, like Hero's Feast. It consumes the goblet, if I remember correctly.
It does. The goblet breaks, and it's no longer usable.
Yep. And it's no longer usable. However, Identify, the 50 gold piece pearl, is not consumed.
Right.
Scrying does not consume the crystal ball or the gem that you need. Shape change does not break the 2,500 gold piece jade circlet that you have to wear for it. But that's not a ritual one. That's just a regular spell. But it's always something to remember. Look at your material components. If it's consumed, it's no longer there. You need to find a new one. Your GM should also know that. If they're new, listen to this podcast or introduce them to this podcast so they can know that. But Thundercat, let's get into the nuts and bolts of spells.
Casting them?
Casting them. Let's do it. Let's get right into it. That's
each spell has a casting time. It will say on the spell itself what the casting time is. Either it will be an action, a bonus action, or a reaction, or it might be a day, it might be an hour. Depending on each spell, they have different casting time. So just keep that in mind when you want to cast a spell. And if you're new, make sure you check and see what the casting time is. Acid Splash is one action. That takes 6 seconds to do.
Correct. a bonus action is also part of said action. Well, a part of that turn that you can still cast, but when you get into casting spells, you cannot cast something that has a spell slot twice. So, like, you can't cast Misty Step and then Mage Armor. You would have to cast your 0 level spell, your cantrip, or vice versa. That's a big controversy.
Only
There's
up to
feats
second
that
level.
That's a different thing. But
No, I know,
bonus
that's what you're
actions.
saying.
I wasn't even saying that because that's a Mercer thing. Because like
No, that's
through
a
D&D.
no, that's a thing.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Didn't know that.
Second level and lower, you can cast a cantrip with bonus action. I think that was they changed it to I think it's one of the erratas.
Probably. But when you're also selecting your spells, also bear those in mind too. Your casting times. Misty Step, bonus action. Hellish Rebuke, reaction. Shield, reaction. Comprehend languages, a minute. So when you're picking out your spells, always keep that in mind. So if you're in combat, you don't try to use your longer duration ones because that's going to take rounds and rounds and rounds and rounds. You'll probably end up finishing the combat before you're done trying to cast it. Alternatively, if you're just zipping around, you'll burn through your spell slots if you're misty stepping throughout the dungeon so you don't step on traps. But another thing about spells that you need to know is range. Spells have range. Things might alter the range, but it will say right underneath the casting time, I believe is how the format works. Yep, it'll go casting time, then the range. It can be melee, so you have to be up in its grill, or it will have a range of something. Remember, just like shooting a bow and arrow in someone's face, if you're shooting a range something in someone's face, a range spell, it will be at disadvantage. It will take a spell attack roll, which will be your proficiency bonus and your casting modifier to hit, and then your d20 roll. Some spells have a crazy range.
Some spells have a range of self, which is also so. Then a radius would be around you from that point.
Oh, I was even going to say we'll get into the areas of effect here. I mean,
I know, but I'm just saying, like, some of them will erupt from you and not actually be a melee attack.
So keep that in mind. So range, like there will be a range of self. Self can also be a range self, and then a 5-foot range, like radius around you. But then you'll also go into the next thing, which are components. Are always broken up into 3 little letters. V is for verbal. What will it take for that, Thundercat?
So it will tell you verbal needs to be in the spell, so you would say something, a magic word, a grunt, something that you think is good. You don't necessarily have to say it in the game, but it's probably more fun
It adds to your flavor.
Yeah, add some flavor to your character. So maybe you
also keep in mind.
Maybe you cast the silence spell because that's what they talk about in it. And
I was just gonna get
you could say enough and silence someone, and that like with the silence sphere around him, and that person who's trying to cast a spell at you can't verbally say it out loud. So you can't. That would cancel out their chance to say.
However, if that person were to be knowing what you were casting, saying you were casting silence on this person, could cast his simple counter spell, which is just a semantic, which is just a gesture. Do his quick little finger wag and say, no more silence. That is something. Sometimes most spells will require verbal and somatic. Those are usually like
where they
presto changeo.
Yeah, they're pulling at the strings of magic and making the rune or and we talked about the material. We talked about the material components.
Yeah, that's also kind of an interesting thing because it goes into you need to have a hand free to access your material components or to be holding that focus. So that's why most clerics, their focus is in their shield and they're always clutching their shield. and then they can do the verbal and somatic gesture with their weapon in their offhand. Same with a wizard. Wizards typically have that one staff, and then they either have their free hand or their hand over that on top of their staff. It's all about, it's like if your hands are bound, you're not casting magic unless it's just a finger waggle. Like if you're bound and gag, you can only cast somatic, is what I would tell you. Because you can't reach your materials, you don't have your focus, unless your focus is a ring and you still have it all.
Yep.
The next one is important as well. Duration. How long your spell will last.
Yeah, some spells happen and it's instantaneous. It will say that on your spell if it happens right away. And then the next thing would be concentration, and this is pretty important as a spellcaster because if you have a hold monster spell and you want to keep a concentration on something like that, keep the monster held, you need to kind of protect yourself because you could get hit and lose your concentration. So if you can hold a charm or something, you might want to be careful getting up close to any of his allies if you have a monster held or charmed or whatever.
That's the key thing to remember. So if the duration of the spell requires concentration, you are concentrating on that spell the entire time. So the three things that you cannot do to maintain concentration on that spell: you cannot cast another spell that requires concentration. Taking damage may break your concentration. However, so what happens is you make a Constitution saving throw when you take damage to maintain your concentration. The DC equals 10 or half the damage you take. So if you take 25 damage, the DC is 12. If you take 8 damage, the DC is 10. It will always be 10. If you pass, you maintain concentration. If you fail, spell's done. Alternatively, if you're incapacitated or killed, I mean, you can't concentrate on something if you're dead or asleep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. So, as it also says, there also might be certain environmental phenomena that, like, if you're on a ship and it's crashing on the ocean, or you're trekking through a volcano and you're trying to keep up, I don't know, let's say Pass Without a Trace was a concentration spell. It's not. But you would have to make a heat check, and that would be DC 10, just base. There is no damage that you took. Here we go. This is where we start getting into who it targets. Where is the spell going?
Typically, a spell requires you to target at least one creature to affect that person by magic, or a thing to affect it by magic. The spell description tells you whether the spell targets creatures, objects, or the point of origin for an area of effect. Unless a spell is a perceptible effect, a creature might not know it was targeted by a spell at all. An effect like crackling lightning is obvious, but a more subtle effect, such as an attempt to read a creature's thoughts, typically goes unnoticed unless a spell says otherwise.
Charmed. If he's trying to charm you, when the charm is over, you will know. That's most often the one that happens.
A clear path to the target. To target something, you must have a clear path to it, so it can't be behind total cover. If you place an area effect at a point that you can't see, and an obstruction such as wall is between you and that point, the point of origin comes into being on the near side of that obstruction.
You can alternately target yourself. You can target yourself. So, like, if it's a touch spell, or any creature that you can see, I can certainly see my hands in front of me, so I can target me. Unless the creature must be hostile or specific, a creature other than you. Those are typically when you can't target yourself. Like Cure Wounds, everybody's fine and I'm hurt. Oh man, let me fix my boo-boo. Boom. But then you also get into the fun spells that wizards will certainly need to know your area of effects.
Yeah, so area effects, just think of everyone's favorite spell, Fireball. So yeah, you throw a fireball. It's a sphere, so it's a big circle placed on that point that you pick. So that area effect, I think it's 30 feet, right?
30 or 20.
sphere?
I'm pretty sure it's 20.
20-foot sphere.
20.
And it's based on a point you pick that you can see within range, and
300
it will, within 300 feet. It's pretty fun, badass.
Yeah.
And it explodes, and you roll your damage. So you could actually put it up in the air a little bit, maybe 5 feet off the ground, and it would hit 5 feet up above you. You know what I mean? It's a sphere. It's a full circle around. It's a marble around the entire area of 20 feet.
So you've also, it starts with your point of origin on certain things like cones or lines. There's a spell called Burning Hands and Cone of Cold that are cones. 15 foot, and I think 60.
Blast you.
Thank you. 60 for the Cone of Cold. That will start at you, and then it'll have a 5 foot out, and then at its max, it'll be 15 feet wide, and it'll come out. Same with the Cone of Cold, it goes out to 60.
Yep.
Like that. Like a pyramid. And then you also have lines like Lightning Bolt or a Black Dragon's Acid Breath. It goes in a straight line. It'll go, the Lightning Bolt, shit, that's 100 feet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a straight line from you to 100 feet away from you and of lightning.
Yep.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy.
You got the cube.
You have the cube. Cubes are typically, I'm trying to think, what most spells are a cube? Thunderclap. Thunderclap is a cube. Entangle is a cube. Aovard Black Tentacles is a cube.
The cube is the... Hello, Gilded. The cube point of origin is right in the center of the cube.
Correct.
On one side.
So it goes...
and then you have a cylinder. And everybody knows what a cylinder is. Just think of a soup can.
Yep.
That is a cylinder.
It is 20 feet wide at the bottom, and it goes up by 60 feet like Flame Column or something like that. I'm just pulling measurements out of my ass now at this point.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either. Saving throws. We know what saving throws are. We've talked about that.
Same with attack rolls.
For spell saves, you use your proficiency plus your spell attack modifier plus 8, I think.
8. Yep.
To figure out what your save is.
Correct.
And then your attack roll becomes your proficiency plus your spell attack modifier.
Your spell casting modifier.
Spell modifier,
Yep. And then the one thing to remember is combining magical effects. If two clerics cast Bless on you, they do not stack. You take the one with the higher bonus. However, if the cleric class casts Bless on you and the wizard casts Haste on you and you're the barbarian, go to town and destroy everything.
Have those do fun stack. With that.
Exactly. That is, you can't stack effects like you can't stack extra attacks. You can't stack on our defense. It works with magical effects as well. Those are the big things to remember. So if you have two clerics in the party, split up your blesses to cover the whole party. They won't. No double benefits. Good try. Cheers.
All right, so before we go any further, they talk about the Weave of Magic, but I don't want to get into the D&D Weave of Magic right away. We can kind of talk about that a little bit, but you can kind of go ahead and make your own reason why magic is in your world. You don't need to use the D&D magic reasoning. But it's good. It is a good one. I do like it. I do like how the weave goes throughout.
I like the weave. If you're a comic nerd like I am,
yep.
Magic people are mutants. People typically it's a low magic campaign. That's what I've done before. And then anybody player characters who wanted to use magic be like, okay, you're an outcast, but you don't know that yet. This will be interesting.
There could just be an innate magic power on just that world you're in that gives everyone their powers. And then some areas give you heightened senses or something. You can really go really do whatever you want. You can watch a lot of fantasy movies and see where magic comes from. Like, there's a lot of, I mean, going back to what we talked about last week with the planes, like the different ways that they talk about how they have the world tree and the other planar areas. You can kind of do that with the magic in your world as well if you're making it that way. So what do we talk about now? We went through how to figure out how to like to do all the spells. Do we want to talk about the spells?
I was gonna say, I mean, we played a lot of D&D, and we usually do a little like past experiences, segment. So we're DMs and players. All right? Give me your least favorite cantrip and your most favorite cantrip. Let's start off.
I mean, there's a few cantrips that are really kind of to me. First off, the one I hate the most is Sacred Flame. Because I had such a fucking hard time with it. I hated using it.
I agree. I think a lot of like the save-based cantrips are kind of weak. I don't like them because if you're using your cantrip, your save is going to be low. But I get it.
I think, I don't know, maybe like True Strike is probably the worst one, or maybe like Blade Ward. Like you put them on and they're never used.
I think with a lack of a creative mind, mending is kind of a weak cantrip. I'm just gonna say it.
I like it because I think there's a lot of things I could do to mess around.
You're creative with it. Like you can break like your traveling wheel in just one piece, and then be like, "Well, these are mine now," and no one's gonna go anywhere until I come back and go, "Boop, I fix it." I will say I think probably one of my least favorite cantrips is fucking Chill Touch, just because of the name.
Yeah,
it's got a range of something like 100 and something more than touch, and it's called Chill Touch. I'm like that.
It's because it's a spectral hand.
I don't care. It could be called Chilling Hand. When you put something in there that is a cat, like ball, like fireball, and it's a sphere, it makes sense. Cone of Cold. If Cone of Cold was a fucking cube, dude, how many people would be up in arms? Think about that.
Yeah.
Favorite cantrip in
yours. I already know what your favorite one is. Prestidigitation. I do. Yours.
Absolutely. Yeah. Prestidigitation, Thaumaturgy, Druidcraft. All of the modifiers of it are great in their own ways.
I think like best utilized is light. Like that's probably the smartest one to take. I mean, even if you can see in the dark and you're a cleric or wizard that can take light, you should take it.
You should. Yep.
Because you're going to have party members that can't see in the dark, and it gets to be a pain in the ass to have torches when you can just be like off. Like I think that light is a very big one. I like Mage Hand. I think Mage Hand's always been a really fun one.
Mage Hand is really, really good. I also like Prestidigitation for the bard aspects of it too. Like if you take it as a bard, like I don't need to shave. I can use my Mage Hand and Prestidigitation to shave for me. Like, oh, I let some shaving cream on there. Boop. Mage Hand, hold this shaver while you compose your next masterpiece. It's such a beautiful combination.
Tell me about your favorite attack / damage dealing cantrip.
Ooh, Finger of Death is high up on that list. Finger of Death is a really, really good
cantrip. That's a cantrip.
Cantrip. I'm sorry, you said cantrip.
I was like, wait a minute.
Firebolt is a good one. Vicious Mockery, honestly, is probably one of my favorite ones because it's psychic damage, which a lot of things aren't resistant to as a DM. And they don't even have to speak the same language. They just have to be able to hear me. And they just get filled with sadness.
I think my favorite one is still Shocking Grasp.
Yeah, the Joy Buzzer. That's a really good one. And what's the range on that one? Melee.
Melee, because you have to grasp them.
Yep, not like Chill Touch.
All right, you want to go to a quick break, and then we'll be right
sure.
back? Okay.
And talk about some more spells. Let's go see some MILFs. And then
MILFs on deck. 7 minutes of MILF. All right, we're back. Wow, we were getting into some Zombo Force there. I like how it went right over to Zombo Force. Good on you, YouTube.
Right?
Good on you.
Thanks, YouTube. Promote our stuff.
Yeah, by the way, go check out Zombo Force on YouTube. First season's finished. We're already taping the second season. We have a lot in store, and we're very excited about it. And there's going to be some fun stuff happening at the end of the week this week. So keep tuned in for that. But let's talk about spells.
Yeah, spell.
All right. So what do you want to say about spells? What about first level, second level, third level, fourth level?
So I mean, as you level up, read your spells. Read the different spells that you get to pick from. And then, honestly, I went from level 1 to level 20 in an 8-hour overnight shift, and I know most of the spells offhand. Thanks, Thundercat.
You're welcome.
You'll be real surprised on what there's a lot of different spells in there. There's just about everything for a certain occasion. And if you're self-centered, certainly just pick them at will. And, don't read them. If you aren't, take a good read through them and see how they can help you and the rest of the party get further and subvert some silly little DM plans. Like, if you guys can't read every language, you should have a spell that makes it so you can read or talk every language. So you can subvert attacks or traps.
I completely agree, and I'd like to also add on to that if you plan on playing the game for more than just a session, read them. You're going to end up getting most of these spells if you're a spellcaster, or if you play in a different game and you're a different spellcaster, you're going to know half the spells that you get to pick for that new spellcaster that you're playing. So I don't know every single spell off the top of my head, but I know a lot of them because I've played as a spellcaster and I've paid attention to try to make it easier for my DM. So if you can do that, you're gonna make it a lot easier for the party to storytell and roleplay if you're aware of what you're casting when you're casting it, instead of just saying, I'd like to cast this, and knowing that your party's all right where you're casting it and it will hurt everyone. Unless you're playing a character that would do that, make sure you read your spell. But
Daniel was a tiefling rogue.
Yes, see, but you knew what was going to happen. You were like, okay, she's a rogue, she's a tiefling, she's resistant to fire damage, and she has her evasion. I think we'll be okay. Like you knew at that point that you could get away with it.
And also, on a side note, Gad did not like Talionix.
Yeah,
so
well, he didn't care.
that.
He really didn't care about anyone either.
I like the little one. The little one.
I meant he was a lot more selfish than selfless.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Fireworks as we go down the street.
Yeah. Here's a friggin' whatever, the Bloodhawk
tavern.
In the crowded tavern. Oh, what was it? The fucking Axebeak, the ostrich. Yeah.
The Kula Yaku from Monster Hunter.
Well, and moving more beyond that point, we could talk about complementing your party as
absolutely
a D&D vocab. That's like, so when you pick your spells, depending on your class, pick something that's going to help your team as well. So let's say you're a druid.
You could pick Barkskin. You could pick Pass Without a Trace. You could pick Cure Wounds, Healing Word. You could take Stone Skin. You could take water walk. You can take water breathing. There are a multitude of things that you could help out your party with a druid. Give me another one.
Wizard.
You could take haste. You could take mage armor because you can cast that on other people. I just realized. You can take what's another one? False life. You can take
Invisibility. Greater invisibility.
Greater invisibility. Greater invisibility is one of the best.
Polymorph.
Polymorph. Oh, my barbarian. Oh, I got a cleric. You're a T-Rex now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Or you have a squishy bard and you're like, you're a T-Rex now. Let's go. And then keep the cleric who has a lot of heavy armor on to take some beating.
Because the thing is if you're gonna,
I mean, you could take knock. Help.
Knock's another one. If you don't have a rogue, you don't have to worry about doors.
Yeah.
Use your cleric to silence the area and then knock on the door because it's got a range. There's so many. Dimension door, teleport, plane shift for your that will help your party and your DM.
There's a lot of, I mean, most of the spells are utility spells if you think about it in the long run, mm-hmm. And then there's just damage dealing. Like that's it. There's two types of spells really in D&D. There's the utility, which is our buffs, debuffs against the creatures or other party members if you really want, if you're fucking with people, mm-hmm. or damage dealing spells, which are area effect or attack spells.
I think thematically is better word than utilitarian. Like the utilization of the spell. There's a good theme. Like if you're traveling in the woods and it's about to start snowing and you're a high level wizard with the party, cast the mansion or cast the fucking Lehuman's tiny hut so you guys have a place to sleep that's warm.
Right.
If you're traveling to the Nine Hells, like plane shift, so you don't have to find a ride. What's the goddamn spell? Absorb elements is a spell.
Yeah.
So you can absorb fire. You can take elemental ward, I think is a spell or something like that. There's investitude of fire. That's the spell. Investment of fire, something like that. Magic weapon. Cast that on someone who doesn't have the magic weapon in the party. There are so many different spells that you can use. So certainly always read through your spells and see where you can lighten the load on other parts of the party. Like if you can heal as a wizard, do it.
And if you're a wizard and you find a spell book, go buy that paper, go buy the ink, or go do what you need to do to copy the new spells into your spell book so you have a variety of spells that will help depending on the situations. Star Charlie, thank you
very much.
Thank you for lurking and working at the same time.
The work.
You can also pull your chicken pot pie out of your satchel and throw it at the... You can, and that's totally true, because you could totally get a bag of holding, put your chicken pot pie in there, it will sit perfectly still and won't flip over, and then you can take it out of your bag of holding when you ask for it out of your bag of holding and throw it at someone. What?
It's perfect. There's always so many different uses to spells. Like, get creative. Always ask what you can do with the spell. Can I do this? And
talking about that, I saw something on Facebook the other day about what was it?
Gilded's right. Silly things are fun in D&D. Like, Tomb of Annihilation is a grind of a module, but you gotta have the fun.
Yeah, so I saw something the other day where it was like, you walk in and you hear bones rattling towards you. I cast Turn Undead. Nothing happens. The bones continue rattling toward you. I cast Detect Undead. You don't detect undead. Then what the hell are they? The wizard had cast Animate Objects. And it's just a bunch of bones rattling towards them. Yeah.
That's something I would do. Yep.
So I thought that was a good one. I mean...
Animate Objects is a great spell for the use of anything. Like, oh shit, there are a bunch of dudes coming. I cast Animate Objects to barricade the door. on everything that's in the room. What can I get that's big and then get me down to little until I'm out of stuff to barricade? I want to set up dinner for these elaborate guests. I'm lazy, so animate objects, set it up, do the things, make it look pretty.
It's basically Fantasia, right? Isn't that the movie?
Fantasia or Merlin from Sword
Merlin.
in the Stone?
Yes, Merlin.
Yeah.
Yes, Sword of the Stone. That's one of my favorites
Where
too.
all of the things are going into his bag. That's the best. Like I was like, that's animate objects. That is what Dad wants to do.
And that's bag of holding.
Uh-huh. Mary Poppins had the best bag of holding, though. Let's be real.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, she did.
Everything.
I mean, then you have stuff like Levitate, where you could levitate your friend and push them up to where they need to go with a rope, and like have them tie the rope off, and then you got the rest of the team can get up. Or
loot, you can do it for loot. I want to bring this chest up. I cast Levitate on it. Push. I'm going to guide it with my stick.
Or tie a rope to it and pull it behind you.
Exactly. It's a lost puppy going through the dungeon. Patch, why are you tying a rope to that mimic? You'll see.
All right, so we had fun talking about the like lower level spells and different buff spells and whatnot. Let's talk about some high level spells that you hear about sometimes. Sometimes you get to cast a few if you get a few extra wish scrolls. But think about like what's some of the high level stuff that you really like.
What's a 9th level spell that you haven't bullshitted out of your ass that you were able to cast? Have you ever been able to do it in a session as a player?
No.
No? Okay.
Nope.
So I did it once. Well, twice. I've done it twice. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and say the meteor the first time during the Dragon Wars. That was not bullshitted. Right. One time I was a barbarian and my friend was a dwarf. Yeah, okay. The meteor, that one's the right one. And then, so we were doing a one-shot with Zaphod, and Zaphod is slowly going insane and crazy because he's not a god anymore, and his buddy took away his powers. So we went to a brothel, and I cast a 9th level spell on something that didn't have 100 HP, and then I plane shifted its body away. So that was... I power word kill a mistress of the night, and then quickly discarded the evidence. So I've done it twice. Using 9th level spells, well, you don't get to use them often.
Well, you also had a couple wishes, didn't you?
I'm going to go ahead and say Puma. I'm not going to count that one, because that was a scroll. And then the bullshit scroll that I pulled out.
That was a fucked up wish, too.
I didn't know what else to do. I picked him up and threw it at it and it worked. No way.
You threw a dwarf? No, that makes sense. They're pretty sturdy. Yeah. And if it didn't work, the dwarf would have been mad, so...
Yup. Dings in my ears. Make it stop. There it goes. Let's see. True Polymorph's a cool one that doesn't really get utilized a lot. And then the drawback to that is if you concentrate on it for the entire duration of it, you can stay that forever. So you can...
So I was thinking whenever I hear True Polymorph, I think of the R.A. Salvatore book when Drizzt and who else is it? Wolfgar, I think, are walking through and they run into it's Drizzt and the Snurf Neblin there. They're walking through the tunnels and they run into a like a Yokla or something, or it's like one of like the Underdark cattle, but they're like huge and they have big claws and stuff. And it was a true polymorphed rock person that a wizard true polymorphed into that monstrosity basically. And
when they
bring him all the way through, and he like you can tell he's like still turning, so he still has some sort of a mind, but he's slowly really turning into the monstrosity. It's sad.
There's an NPC in the Avernus campaign that's a wizard who true polymorphed himself into an otter who sent you to hell. Yeah, that's where I got the idea for Marty. And I was like, this is so funny because that's so cockamamie. And he's just a cute little otter. I was like, this is great. This is, I like that. I like that.
That is pretty good.
But typically when I think of 9th level spells, the two that come to mind are Power Word Anything or Wish. Wish, like I've seen so many things wish from in Tomb of Annihilation. Like there's an obelisk in front of there that there's a Nephalfashni that you have to fight if you knock it over. In the tomb, there's, spoiler alert, a beholder fight where Asarak cast Wish to make it invisible forever.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. A permanently invisible beholder.
Motherfucker.
Yo, are you Pendleton Ward? You're a psychopath. I love it. Go on. And then Power Word Kill, I got to use that as Asarak on a paladin. And I was just like, nope. And you're dead. You have just under 100 HP.
I mean, I heard the final episode of Critical Role yesterday. I finished it. And
I heard it was crazy.
It was pretty crazy. And like the way Matt Mercer used Time Stop.
Oh,
and the way he used Time Stop was incredible. I mean, I guess I could
tell me, please. Go on.
It's not really a spoiler.
Spoilers.
It is a spoiler, but it's not really a spoiler because he did Time Stop and then he cast all of his buff spells on his characters,
Smart.
and then came straight out of the Time Stop, and it just like sat like floating in the air with all of the buff spells around. Like they were like, you just see this shimmers around this spellcaster.
We were witness to a Time Stop once. You and I, as players. Do you remember?
No, I can't.
Ravenloft.
Where?
Mordenkainen.
Oh yes.
When we were messing with it, when we were talking with him, and then he was gone. I sat there for a minute. I'm like, she used Time Stop.
Yep.
Wow. That was a good use of it. Yep.
I thought he went invisible. We just couldn't see him.
That's what I thought too. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, but we saw him when he left. And I was like, and then she, like, I'm sitting there thinking of it, and she's like, I used Time Stop. I was like, that's a fucking great spell. And if you're Mordenkainen, that's the spell to use. Or, go to Mordenkainen's mansion. That was I geeked out a little bit about that. I'm just going to go ahead and keep that on the inside now.
So, and then you also have True Resurrection and Mass Heal.
Mass Heal, we've been witness to that. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive.
That was clutch. That was real clutch. I've never, as a player in the game, never been witness to a True Resurrection. I've never seen that amount of diamonds. One.
Hold on.
What?
I'm pretty sure I cast that. Not me. As a DM, I cast it.
Ah.
I have to see it. I have to read the whole thing for a second. Where are you?
Continue reading. Yeah, 9th level spells are awesome. 8th level spells are just as mean. Like Maze. Maze is a very awesome wizard spell that you should take because they just get teleported to a maze and then they have to make an intelligence check of 20.
Yeah, that was a good one.
There.
Yep, I cast it. Do you remember the doodad pickle?
Oh yeah, I do now.
He brought back what's his name? Hemo.
Yep.
He brought back Hemo in the Druid Forest.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Druid Forest had burnt down.
Yep. That was a crazy encounter. That's a story for another episode.
But I did cast it. Remember I said there was a bunch of
diamonds.
There were a bunch of dwarves, druids walking diamonds past you.
Mm-hmm. I do now because I was sitting there. I'm like, yeah, he is right. Yeah, I have technically seen it.
Yep, that was fun. All right, so we're at that time where we can either create a spell or creation zone, or we talk about some spells that maybe would work well with complementing the party.
So, as much as I want to make a spell, there's a lot of thought process that goes into it. And I don't want to, like, that's something that Wizards takes a lot of time in, or Matt Mercer does with other players and takes a lot of time with. I think that the spell for Carlin should be a Patreon exclusive, but because it's a certain,
we'll have to record after hours.
Yeah, D&D After Dark. But I would love to. So we have a sorcerer, a warlock, a wizard, a paladin. We have just about every casting class except for the bard and the druid.
and we have a fighter. Is that what she was? Or barbarian? She's a barbarian.
Barbarian. She's a barbarian. She's a berserker barbarian.
So we have a barbarian, so we might need to buff her a little bit while we're fighting.
So there will be buff
we have the
spells,
wizard. We have the wizard that would have haste, maybe.
At this point, yeah. Definitely haste, definitely invisibility. Certainly not greater invisibility. Your paladin...
It's still just going to be a whacker, probably. Using those spell slots for...
Some cure wounds. Some cure wounds. Some of the healing if he doesn't have it. Your sorcerer is another damage dealer. And then Carlin's the Eldritch Blasting mini Swiss Army wizard.
Utility. She's utility.
Yeah, she's the utility caster. Honestly, she might... Something that would probably benefit her pretty well, a good ritual spell, now that she has her tome, is Guiding Hand. Guiding Hand would be a perfect spell for her to have for the rest of the party, because then they would know where to go. Just saying that, having that spell is perfect. That would benefit the party, and she or not Quintillion, the wizard's name, I forgot his name. It's something ridiculous.
Thickmorton, something.
Throckmorton Dingleberry.
Throckmorton. Yeah, Throckmorton.
Throckmorton. Those are the only two that could use that. The paladin. Shit. Honestly,
I think she'd take like fighter climb, suggestion, stuff like that to kind of. She's not much of a damage dealer, so she wouldn't take a lot of damaging spells. She'd take more of like stuff that would help her get out of situations. So like a suggestion, a lot of things, Misty Step.
Suggestion would be perfect because Quintillion talks too much, and leading off with, he means nice, let's just hear him out.
Yeah.
That immediately they will sit and they will listen to whatever he has to say if they fail.
Maybe like comprehend languages because of reading and whatnot.
She could probably get that from one of her invocations later on as well too. Eyes of the Runekeeper, I think.
You got counterspell, dispel magic at 3rd level.
Tongues at 3rd level.
Tongues and remove curse, maybe.
I think remove curse. I think once Quan gets up to that, having remove curse, he would probably be more off to that. Bestow curse might be a little bit more up Carlin's alley, simply because of the the nature of the.
Yep. And I think start getting to 5th level, probably where we'd be stopping with her right now would probably be Contact Other Plane and Scrying. Those would be her 2 5th level spells that she would take. You can't really take much more.
I think that you get Contact Other Plane.
Well, if that's the case, then she could take Dream or Hold Monster otherwise.
Hold Monster, definitely. So, Hold Monster is either fuck them up or
stop them in his tracks and talk them out. Because some monsters can talk.
Well, yep. Well, if they're held, they can't say anything.
Well, you know what I mean. Talk them off the ledge.
As a DM, If you cast Hold Monster on an Illithid, could it still talk to you?
I don't think illithids are monsters.
They're certainly not humanoid. They are certainly aberrations. They are or
That's
abominations.
true.
They are
Yeah.
not human. So,
Can they
but
still
they are
talk?
also
Because yes, they can. Because they're telepathic.
because they're telepathic.
Yeah,
okay,
no
cool.
problem.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought. That was my thought process.
If you had a ring of telepathy, you could do it too. I think I'd allow it.
Okay. All right.
It would really
okay.
imagine getting that person to hold and then having them talk to you in your mind, like you're like fuck. Jeez, okay. Maybe this is the wrong person. Just stop right here.
Yep. Oh, hi. Okay, I didn't realize you could still talk while you're not moving. Great. Wonderful. That's amazing. Wow. Awesome. Wow.
Awesome. Wow.
But yeah, spells are always fun. If you can dabble in spells or get a magic item that has a spell on it, try it. And then certainly, as I said earlier, ask if can I do this with this spell and see what your DM says. Either they will say yes or no. If they say yes, you'll have to roll or do something, and if they say no, then try something else.
Then you went a little bit overboard, probably.
You tried. Right.
Tone it down a little, you'll probably get a yes.
Typically, if you try to do it outside of combat, you might get a yes. If it's inside of combat, you're probably going to get a no, depending on how the spell is worded.
Or if you can
if you're a level 20 wizard,
or
maybe
if you can
dimension
really
door your dragon.
Yeah, talk your reasons why. Well, see, hear me out on this. You are literally trained to ride these dragons.
Yep.
You would figure throughout all of your time learning to be a wizard and learning these spells, all of them were to benefit you and your dragon who you have this specific connection with. So why wouldn't you be able to teleport your dragon with you?
And I've said multiple times, the only reason why I did that is to see what rules lawyer fiance would say to them and see her reaction. And it was priceless.
Also,
and I got away with it.
Also, my dragons, the way I like to have my dragons, they are also spellcasters and can cast true polymorph, or not true polymorph, but polymorph themselves into human people. Like
The
humanoid
variant
people.
for most metallic dragons.
Yes, but I do I think all dragons should be able to if one dragon can do it, the other dragon should be able to do it. So they all can do that. So if you were gonna teleport a dragon with you, you could totally have that dragon polymorph itself into a humanoid, dimension door with that said dragon, and then have that dragon polymorph.
I have a question. An ancient red dragon, would it polymorph itself, or would it not? Because I'm gonna go out on a limb and say even if you gave it,
they wouldn't. They wouldn't.
Yeah, because I'm a fucking red dragon.
Yeah. But if they did, it would be the most scary red tiefling or fucking red, like Goliath looking, whatever the scariest looking thing you could possibly be as a humanoid. I think it would.
A bunny.
That would be fucking funny. Oh, look, a
Remember
little
the bunny
bunny
from Holy Grail?
It's like grows on top. Smush.
You ever seen that meme where the cat's sitting on the roof that's all bent and it's like a dragon in polymorph?
Yeah.
Yeah, polymorph's a really fun spell. If you have the chance to use it, Umlau got to use it and turn into a T-Rex, and then I cast Enlarge on it.
Yeah, I like doing that.
Awesome.
I liked doing that when I was my wizard as well. All right, so I think that's good. I think we really covered a lot of the spell casting and spell basis. Yeah, I think we're in good shape. Next Tuesday,
we're going back to the plains.
Yes, we're gonna cover your favorite.
Little boy, we're going to hell.
Yes, the one you wanted to talk to about real bad. Yes.
Hell. Yeah, we're going to the deep, dark, scary places of your mind.
We'll be back with the rest of the planes that we're going to talk about next week. Planes Part 2. I have to go change that the titles on the YouTube and the Anchor to back to the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles one because I really enjoyed that title and I forgot that I did it.
I liked it too. That's why I said it at the beginning of the episode. I was like,
I'm going to have to go back and change those now. Tomorrow we have Warzone Wednesday. Warzone Wednesday, we'll be playing some attacking in the Warzone from first-person shooting Warzone. Yay, exciting.
Yay! Boom, bang, bang, boom, 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 bing, boom, boom, boom.
That's going to be around 10:30 tomorrow. And maybe a little earlier, depending on who jumps on first. Thursday, you guys doing console night, or is that a thing of the past now?
I have no idea.
Maybe fine. Maybe you'll see something, but you'll definitely see Patch tomorrow playing Red.
Yes. Yeah, I'm
Red
playing my Red Randomizer. Yep.
Red Randomizer.
The Red Randomizer, my hashtag way back Wednesday, as I've
doesn't work.
dubbed it. Yeah, the Randomizer.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It's
no.
hard.
I have to go through Nugget Bridge, go talk to Bill, go to Vermilion City, and see what Surge doesn't have for electric type Pokemon.
And what's your character's name?
What was it? His name is Mustard.
Mustard. Mustard and his nemesis Grievous.
Yep, Grievous.
Grievous is his nemesis.
Grievous voice. Yes, this is Grievous. Mustard, I'm gonna get you and your little
I was so
Pokemon
glad
too.
I got to get home just in time to start that with you.
I'm really hoping that Sucky Face is gonna level up tomorrow, because that's gonna be great.
Sucky Face, I forgot all about him.
I didn't forget about Sucky Face.
Oh,
I got Raging
so
Dongle, all kinds of names. Swing on by.
Right,
Let me name a
check
Pokemon
out the
afterwards.
Patch Nasty tomorrow for Sucky Face and Grievous. Don't worry about
yes, I'll
Mustard.
be live
Don't worry
at
about Mustard, but
6
Grievous is the way to go.
Mustard is silent, but Grievous will be talking. We'll be live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So you'll see. Afterwards on Thursday, late night, you might see some zombies from Disto and DD. Normally, that's something he said he wanted to start doing from Call of Duty. So check that out with them at late night.
More importantly, it's the first Friday of the month coming up, and even more importantly, super importantly, even like triple advantage importance. It's this bearded guy's birthday. He's turning 20.
It's me. I'm gonna be 21.
Ah, yeah. He's like a store, forever 21.
I can legally have a beer.
Yeah.
Don't let
Until
the
it changes to
grays and the
25.
non-hair fool you.
No, community night. 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wish Beardo a happy birthday.
And
He'll
it's
be
my
turning
birthday.
21. He's
For
gonna be
real,
drunk.
it really is my birthday, though. It is.
Yes, he's not turning 21. I'm sorry to burst your bubbles, ladies. He's also married.
I am.
Yes, not 21. Married.
Not 21.
Gotcha. Right.
And married. I am married.
And married, happily. Saturday.
Team night,
Yeah,
9 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah.
We're probably going to do more Duck Game because that was a lot of fun the other night. Or we can also do other stuff as a team. We have some other games we all have together, so who knows?
It's so much fun to watch Disto be not really good at something where it requires shooting.
Just wait.
I know it's coming, and then I'm
once
just gonna be
that
like,
wire gets crossed the right way in his brain, we're done.
I'm just waiting for the day I find like a game that's just jumping across a pond because I'm about it. I'm the Frogger like 3.0. I'm out. Multiplayer,
Froggy,
let's do it.
Froggy, let's make our own called Froggy. We're not gonna
Froggy.
knock off Frogger.
It's not even going to be frogs. It's going to be the kid from Little
They're
Rascals named Froggy.
actually toads.
Yes. Battletoads? No.
Oh, it's the kid from the Little Rascals, Froggy jumping across.
Yeah, it's Froggy.
Froggy.
Yeah. Him and Alfalfa and Spanky just jumping across the road.
Oh my god. All right, and then next Monday we're back here with Planes Part 2. You got anything else going? You're playing games on Saturday and Sunday too, right?
I am. Well, I'm also doing games on Friday beforehand because I didn't realize.
That's right.
Yeah, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday is Friday Night Lights. I'm playing more baseball. I'm really hoping I can get more dingers with pitchers. That's gonna be fun. Saturday is content.
You should put a ticker on your.
I have a home run counter. It's in Pokemon fonts. Oh, okay.
No, just for pitchers, a pitcher dinger counter. So you can have
Pitcher
at least
dingers being-
it'll be at least one there for a while. So
It'll just be Bartolo Colon on the animation. Just
yeah, his face.
yeah.
His face next to the number 1.
Saturday will be content, and then Sunday, if I can get my save file working, I'm gonna play some more Super Mario RPG and play some more retro achievements.
Sweet.
And then days off are Mondays and Thursdays. I don't stream on those days typically.
Sounds amazing. Let's go raid somebody.
Before we raid someone, you should certainly go check out our Patreon so you can get all the notes from all the D&D podcasts. And when we do the spell for Carlin that will be on there, you will have access to the one and only Dysfunctional Gaming spell that you can use in your own home D&D games. Yeah, thank you, DD.
Thank you, DD. Yes,
All
please
praise
go
to
to
DD.
all of our links there and check out YouTube. We have our Zombo Force episode full season, first season is out, available on YouTube. And we have all of our old episodes of
I'm sorry.
of
I hate when
talking
people
D&D.
I hate when people say available on.
Yeah.
Because then immediately on demand and pay-per-view goes right into my head.
That's exactly what I was thinking when I said it. I ended up like, if you noticed when I said it, I had like a little smile kind of popped out of my face there because I was like,
I did.
Available on YouTube. We also have our Talking D&D. We also have our other content on YouTube. What else is on there? Our Patreon's on there. All of the other podcasts on our Spotify and that stuff.
Yeah. Our TikTok.
TikTok's on there. Oh yeah, DD's doing a really good job with the TikTok. I like the one he put up today. That was a good one.
I haven't gotten a chance to check. I had to put up Big Willie style.
You know what you should do? You should press that link and check it out.
Oh, well, see, I already follow you guys. I just gotta fucking make sure that it stays followed because my TikTok hates me.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're in good shape. Let's go raid somebody.
Oh, well, hang on a second here. I have to get ready for this.
I say Goodroots is on. Do you want to raid to Goodroots?
We'll see if she's AFK first because she might be at the gym.
LCD's online.
Yeah, let's go over it. So I'd like to thank you, Thundercat, for having me here and raiding every Tuesday. I learn a lot. Today I learned about prestidigitation. It can make you so fresh and so clean.
Yeah, LCD 2002.
Yeah, let's go there. What they playing?
He's playing Fortnite. He hasn't been on for a while, so
Very long time.
let's give him some lovin's.
Oh yeah, the lovin's. Make sure that you tell them that Randy sent you, so put up the Randy Wade and the emote that goes along with the Randy Wade, and I'm gonna soothe your ears with this lovely, lovely cover of a song by some friends of mine from Atlanta. They're named Outcast. Do 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 batu boo 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 datu boo 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 datu boo 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 datu. Ain't nobody dope as me. I'm just so Randy. So Randy. Don't you think I'm so sexy? I'm just so Randy.
Randy.
Ain't nobody dope as me. I'm just so Randy.
Randy.
I love when you stare at me. I'm just that Randy.
Randy.
Delicious got gator belts and patty melts and Monte Carlos and Eldorados. So I'm waking up out my slumber feeling like Rollo. So follow. It's showtime at the Apollo. Mine is Kiki Shepherds. What about a hole and a leopard? Teddy Pendergrass, Cooley and Fendi Jackson. Sipping a milkshake in the snowstorm. Let a throat warm in the dorm room at the AU. We blew a hay too. Athletes can take care of you, but the must have been mistaken. Ain't nobody don't pass me. I'm just so Randy.
Randy.
Thank you very much for coming out, everybody. Say LTD hello and make sure you spam them Randy Rays. You short people.
Oh my god, that was fucking great.